Welcome to the Moon Baby Magic Podcast, a space for women and women's stories. For the woman just beginning to believe she can actually heal her painful period naturally. For the one in a full-on love affair with aligning her entire life with her cycle. And for every woman in between. This is a platform to remember the wisdom that lives in our wombs so that we may actualize the lives of our dreams. I'm your host, Natalie Elliott, women's health practitioner specializing in traditional Chinese medicine-based hormonal healing. Ready for slow and sacred storytelling and to learn a little something? Let's dive in. Moon Baby Magic Wednesday, everyone. It would sound a lot better if that was Monday, right? I used to send my newsletters out on Mondays and call them Moon Day, which I tell Samantha in this episode because she does these Moon Day drops. But I send my newsletters out on Tuesdays now because it's hard to get a newsletter out on Mondays. Anyways, if you're not on my newsletter, you can get on my newsletter by signing up for my free class, Your Cycle Decoded, below. If you like this episode, you clicked on this episode, you're probably going to like the class. It's uncovering, whatever you want to say, the 3 hidden root causes beneath PMS, period pain, and other hormonal imbalance, things that probably aren't coming up in labs or that your doctor is not telling you. So you can check that out if you'd like. Other than that, not much here to say. I'm on day 27 of my cycle. I'm tired. I'm going to go out on a walk in nature after recording this intro. So I just want to invite you to listen to this wonderful episode with Sam. And you'll get to hear all about Sam as she introduces herself. But Sam is a functional hormone specialist who works with high-functioning women who are burnt out and depleted. And in this episode, we get into how she lost her period for 2 years after coming off hormonal birth control in 2020, how she was struggling with disordered eating, being disassociated from her body, and carrying a lot of sexual shame, and how she came back to her womb in a way that she could only describe as her womb speaking to her, even though she never would have believed it back then, and into how she works with women today. And you also get to hear Sam and I nerd out a lot about our favorite supplements, what work we do with women, and all of that good stuff. So I hope you do tune in and check in with yourself. Where are you at in your cycle? If you're follicular or ovulatory, take this episode for a walk or on a drive to somewhere. If you're luteal or menstrual, maybe lay down, close your eyes, and listen. All right, let's get into it. Okay, awesome. Yay. Hey, Sam, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Natalie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get into this conversation with you. And the way that I really like to start these, because it gives us such context into how we're showing up today, is sharing where you're at in your cycle and also sort of where you're at in like your life phase. So I can start by sharing that for me so you can get an idea. And today
Mhm.
I'm on day, I guess, 16 or 17 of my cycle. That's what I would
Mhm.
guess without checking my thing. I have it this morning. I did take my temperature this morning and I'm in luteal. My temperature's elevated, so I'm in
Okay.
luteal.
Yeah.
And yeah, in my phase of life, I kind of orient myself to these phases of life by like maiden, mother, sorceress, crone. And it's kind of similar to the cycle in the sense of like, follicular is this like maiden energy before we've brought children into the world, and mother is our like mothering ovulation energy in the fullness of our lives, and the sorceress. I just had someone on the podcast this week, Lysandra, and she talked a lot about perimenopause and that like sorceress energy moving into that phase of life. And then, of
Cool.
course, we have the crone elder phase of life too. And when I answer that question for myself, very obviously I'm in the maiden phase of my life because I don't have children. And you and I were just talking about Burning Man, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll go to Burning Man. And yet I'm turning 30 this year, and I like have started to feel this sense of, in some ways in my life, I am in the full bloom of my life. Like it feels like I'm just in it. I'm not necessarily like focused so much on discovering who I am and figuring that out anymore. Like I feel like I have a pretty steady sense of self. And I'm like, okay, and now I'm like existing as this version of me. And that does feel more like the ovulation energy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I'm curious to hear how you
Yeah.
would answer those for yourself.
Cool. Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I am in my luteal phase as well. I think I'm on day 21 now. I think
Nice.
I looked yesterday, I haven't looked this morning.
Yeah.
Um, which feels very true to just like I always notice like when I'm 1 week out from my period, my mental state shifts slightly.
Yeah.
And it's just easier for me to kind of like spiral a little bit in like a way that's still very manageable, but it's
Mm,
I like I'm able to give myself more permission to do so just because I'm like,
mm,
okay, this is very temporary. Like the week before, the hormones really are like dropping and moving in a lot of different ways.
yeah.
So, um, I'm like, it's fine, and I just have to communicate that to my partner because he's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "It's just a week out from my period."
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but in terms of just like overall life, I feel very like aligned to what you're saying and in a
Mm,
similar era. I am 30. And I feel like I'm in a I've just moved through like a lot of I guess kind of shifts and changes, which is like uncertainty.
yeah.
So I'm like regrounding and regrouping. Like that's the energy I'm in right now.
Mm,
Um, and it's it's a challenging place to be like in this moment, but it's also like because I know where I am like moving in the greater sense, like my purpose is clear, but
mm.
with like the day to day of like how I'm moving through that and navigating is a lot right now because like I just moved and that in itself is very destabilizing, and so then like everything else is kind of like shifting around that as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pivot moments, they really like, yeah, they give us a lot of opportunity for refinement, almost like luteal.
Exactly. I'm like, I really feel like I'm embodying luteal in a moment right now.
Oh, it's so good. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, the next place I really like to go, and this will get us started on, getting into your journey a little bit, is like when we speak to these phases of our cycle, most of us didn't grow up like knowing this about ourselves. And that's why I think it's so interesting you saying like, I have to figure out how to tell my partner this. And I think so many of us have to figure that out around like, yeah, we're not this one like ovulatory, glowy woman all the time. And we have these other facets to our personality, and like letting those come online is first like our own work to be like, how do I accept this within myself? And then to learn how to, yeah, allow other people to get to know that version of us too. But most of us don't grow up with that as girls. So I do really love on this podcast to have women share how they were initiated into their cycle and like what your first bleed was like. So if you would share with me, like, did you get education leading up to it? What was it like? What was the aftermath like? How did you feel? How old were you? I would love to hear all about it.
Yeah, so I have a very clear memory of when I got it. I was like, did I get education about it beforehand? Like maybe a little bit, but nothing that's
Yeah.
memorable. Um, I got my period when I was dress shopping for my bat mitzvah, which I thought was like so
Whoa,
interesting.
that
And
is
looking back on
so
it, I'm like, it was literally my initiation
that
into
is so
womanhood.
cool.
Yeah. And I remember distinctly like being in the building, going to the bathroom and seeing that there was like a little like brown in my underwear. And
Mm,
I was like, what is that? And I felt confused for sure.
yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I think this is my period. But I don't think I was like, oh, I'm bleeding. And like, it was definitely not like this like certain knowing and celebratory moment. But
Yeah.
as I've reflected on that time, I'm like, that feels so cool that it came right before I was, like technically considered a woman in the Jewish tradition as well. So that
Yeah.
felt very aligned. Um, but then after that, I don't like, I think things feel like kind of not that memorable until I like
Mm.
tried to insert my first tampon.
Oh my gosh, what was that story? I have such a big story with that too.
It was bad. Like I was like, what am I doing? Just like trying to shove it up there, having like literally no guidance at all. And because I'm like, I don't really think my mom, I think she just kind of like guided me in the sense of like, okay, like this is what you do. You wear a tampon. And
Mm,
like these are the tampons I use.
okay.
Um, there wasn't a lot of talk about periods growing up in general and in my family.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that I'm sure that there's like, I mean, I've grappled with a lot of shame and moving through that my whole life. And so I'm sure there's like parts of it that like started there. Um, but I never like was like shamed for my period. I think it's more
Mm,
of like it was like the taboo of like
yeah.
societal conditioning and norms
Yeah.
is more of like where that shame could have stemmed from. But like I didn't have a brother or anything. Like I think like people like get that trauma from their brothers and stuff. Like I also have a sister. So um yeah, but that's those are kind of my first memories of it.
Wow. I just absolutely love the timing. It feels like kind of mystical, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And like honestly it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and like these, it just reminds us that these traditions were put into place for a reason. It's like the
Totally.
cultures around the world have traditions for welcoming girls into womanhood. And like, it's,
Mhm.
of course, like that's going to happen around the same time. And
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that I love that because it just reminds me of I don't know, tradition doesn't feel like the right word, but the way our cultural traditions are rooted in like biological reality and like getting back to that feels
Mhm.
really cool.
I love that. Yeah, I haven't really sat with like having an appreciation for that.
Yeah.
But especially in this day and age where I feel like it's so hard to find society and concepts like reflecting what our cycles are and like it's like such this like fight to for that now.
Yeah.
So yeah, thinking that like, okay, at least like religion to a degree was trying to recognize that, I guess.
Yeah, in some way.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and those yeah, the early years, I feel like what you said, I say this in like every podcast episode, but it's like this idea of like when things aren't talked about, they sort of like gather shame, even if that's not
Yeah.
like directly put on us because of the taboo, like you said. And I
Mhm.
always find that so interesting.
Mhm.
And then the tampon thing is a whole other conversation.
Oh
Like
my
I
God.
had that experience too, where I was like, Mom, will you help me? And she's like, No, that's weird.
Right. Like never would.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I actually didn't put in a tampon until I was like 18. It took me quite a while.
Wow.
Yeah, I just was like not about it. And now
Yeah.
I don't even use them anymore.
Absolutely not. I will like literally, I'm like, sometimes I'm insane. I'm like, I'm choosing to like fully bleed and ruin my clothes right now
Same. Oh
over
my gosh,
putting a
same.
tampon in.
Like I'm not putting a tampon in. I was on the phone with one of my friends yesterday and she was talking about how she was going on a date and it was her period had just started.
Yeah.
And she was like, I have to call you. Like, my period started. Like, do I go on the date? We're supposed to go to dinner and then the river. Like, what do I do at the river? Do I put a tampon in for this man, even though I haven't put a tampon in like 5 years?
Oh my God.
And I
Such
was like, I
so
would not.
good. No, definitely not.
I was like, you should initiate him and let your blood run down your legs and see how he handles
Yeah,
it.
that is the best way to know if he's right for you or not.
Right?
Uh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyways, I'm so curious, like, what were those like teenage years of early cycling like for you? Like, did you get on birth control? Like, what was your relationship to your cycle? Were you paying attention?
Um, I don't feel like I like had much of a relationship to my
Yeah.
cycle. I think that I just was like, this is just part of the deal.
Uh-huh.
Um, without much thought or appreciation or anything else around it. I think that I like I would get symptoms like I would definitely get some PMS and acne, and cramping
Mm,
was always like my biggest thing, but it was never so severe that it was like you must go on birth control
mm,
right now to mitigate it. But that said, I did go on birth control to like quote unquote mitigate those symptoms. Like
mm,
once I went to college though, like really it was
mm.
just to have sex.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, that said, like there were symptoms that I was still experiencing. Um, and so then my period totally went away. Like, I'm like,
Whoa.
actually, did it go? No, I still think I was having your monthly bleed. Like you're not actually
Yeah.
bleeding when you're on
Right.
birth control. But um I had that until I guess I went off of birth control, which was in 2020, and then I lost my period completely.
Whoa.
So it went from like just like it being whatever it was to like truly like to numbing my cycle
Wow.
and then to it disappearing.
Okay, I'm so curious because obviously now you're like well versed in the world of women's health and womb work and
Yeah.
all of that. Like when you think back onto that time where you lost your cycle, like what do you think that was about?
So many things. Um, I mean, I think of course there's like the first level of you can just on a like physiological, well, there's a lot of physiological levels. I've
Hmm.
really taken it on every spectrum, but it's like, oh, birth control did shut down my hormones. And so like my body then just like stopped producing. There's like that part of it. But of course, like there needs to be other variables that are also contributing
Hmm.
to that.
Hmm.
And so I think that the way that I was treating my body for so long in both like a mental way, a spiritual way, and the physical way, like all of it really played a role. I definitely was like in college, I partied a lot. I was super disconnected from my body. Like I was having a lot of like different sexual relationships and I held so much shame, like
Hmm.
so much shame. And that even started in high school. And I think I just continued to carry that and then reinforce that by having actions that would reinforce the belief that like I wasn't good enough and that, like whatever, I'm a slut, whatever it was. And so like I just feel like so much of those sexual experiences I just like numbed out.
Wow.
So I like fully just was like I am disassociated from my body and most importantly my womb. And I think that had a big piece in it. And then also I just like was the classic, or maybe not classic, but I do feel like it's pretty classic of like a lot of women struggle with like disordered eating in college, and I was definitely like eating like hardly anything during the week and then like crazy eating, like binge eating because I was drinking on the weekends, and it was just like these like highs and lows. I was super dysregulated, and I think the combination of all of that is then what just like made it disappear once I went off of birth control. But I also like had no idea that birth control depletes you of nutrients and messes up your gut. Oh, and that's definitely another part of it. Like my gut actually was a whole situation that I also ignored and fully just like thought was not a problem for so many years of my life. So there was like a lot of things that ultimately boil down to like I think I was very numb from my body in every single way. And it's just been
Mm,
this like journey to like coming back home to myself and listening in every way that I can.
mm. I love that listening. Yeah, coming back home. I think of that a lot. Like sometimes when I try to distill the essence of what I want for women, like what I feel like I'm here to do, it's like help women come home to their bodies.
Totally.
because
Yeah.
it's like that's really what it is. And I work a lot in the physiological realms of things. Like I
Yeah.
do a lot of support with hormone healing and lab testing and Chinese herbs and all of that.
Yeah.
But I truly like you can't do it without the somatic emotional piece. It's like for me that was I never lost my period, but I had really bad cramps. Like I would go to the ER like
Oh my
every
God.
other cycle or something like it was
Oh,
awful.
oh,
Um and super irregular cycles, like
yeah.
45 days, like like things like that. And it wasn't really until I started going to like women's circles and doing yoni steaming and like giving my
Mm,
blood to the earth and doing more of these like spiritual womb practices that like it kind of all clicked for me. And I
mm,
think, you and I, it seems like we're kind of similar in the sense of like it's not one or the other. Like you really need the physiological and you also really need the psycho spiritual.
totally.
Um, and then on the physiological side of things with you, it's like, whoa, your poor liver, like the
Right.
birth control like harms the liver, the drinking, the erratic eating, and the liver is like really what regulates menstruation.
Yeah.
And so I see that really commonly is like people who have been around like hear me talk about liver qi stagnation like every
It's so important.
But it's so interesting too because we think about like under eating is such an epidemic in like especially college aged women and teenaged
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
And under eating, it first of all dysregulates your insulin and it also spikes your cortisol. And both insulin and cortisol are like they call them like tier one hormones that have to be in place for estrogen and progesterone to work. And so it's like you literally like you're deleting the building blocks for your sex hormones that make you actually have a cycle. And I wish more people knew that.
Yeah. I that's part of when I think about like my greater purpose as well. I do think it's the same as yours of like teaching women
Mm.
how to listen to their bodies, but there is this like greater like injustice of
Mm.
like actually having women know from like a very early age that like exactly what you just laid out, because whether or not you choose to listen, it's like at least you know. And I think that like there's just zero information when we're growing up about any of this stuff. And I feel like, I mean, even the fact that I came into this as I did, like very it's all just been like fully, I'm like, this has just been my womb like guiding me,
Yeah.
because I wasn't like, I've never been surrounded really by like super spiritual people or like woman circles. Like I found that along the way in more
Mm.
recent years, but like the whole experience of reconnecting with my body and like working to get my period back and like realizing how important that is has just been, it's like as I take one step, then like, the next thing kind of appears. Like I didn't just like know that,
Yeah.
oh, there's women's circles and the womb is really important. Like I didn't know any of that when I first was like, I should probably get my period back now that it's been 2 years. I'm like, that's kind of concerning. Like
Mm.
that was it though. There wasn't like
Yeah.
anything more to it than that for me.
Well, but I love that because, I've had quite a few women on here who like were on birth control or lost their period, and it's always kind of a similar thing. It's like we just
Yeah.
somehow innately know that like this isn't how it should be.
Yeah.
Like our biology tells us. So I am curious, like what was that moment for you that you were like, oh, this isn't good?
Yeah, I remember I gave it a year of just being like, oh, because I again, like I knew nothing. Like I was like, oh, maybe this is normal. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. And I was like, maybe it will just come next month and next month and next month, and it just like wasn't coming.
Mm,
And then I started to just be taking my health. I was like taking my health more seriously, and it was when I was also exploring. I had like just become a health coach,
mm,
and I was like, oh, maybe I would want to have my own business someday. And I think
mm,
like that then made me realize like, okay, well, you ought to like heal your body first if you're gonna heal
Wow.
other people.
Wait,
And
why and when did you become a health coach? Like, what was that journey for you?
it was the pandemic, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I've always been into health, and I literally have nothing to do right now because I was like previously I was like working as a like a cooking teacher assistant, and so
Cute.
obviously that was like done.
Yeah.
And I moved back home and I had like nothing to do. And so I just started to cook a lot, and I like made my first website, and then I took this course, and that's also when I started to learn. They didn't touch too much on hormones, but there like was just like a little bit of that information. And
Mm,
then I that was like when the awareness kicked in, but still not like the full on like I need to figure this out. But then I remember a documentary came out about birth control, and I can't remember what it was called, but I was like, oh, this is like this feels like this is my story.
wow.
And that was kind of then what made me like I got like mad. Like this put this like fire under my ass of like, okay, I need to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And clearly I'm not the only one this is happening to. And that was, I think, like the big moment that kind of like kickstarted this journey of then
Mm,
eventually studying actual to become a hormone specialist. Uh,
yeah.
but at that point I had my period back. Um, Honestly, I think a lot of it was because of therapy, though. Like, that's what I
Wow.
mean. Like, to your point, too, it's like so much of this, it's just beyond the physical.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much of it is our like our beliefs of ourselves and what we're holding
Mm.
emotionally.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that question. Like, what kind of protocol did you put yourself on to get your bleed back? Like, what were you like, this is what I need to do?
Yeah, I actually started with, I found, at this point, I still didn't know that much about anything and like Chinese herbs or supplements. Like I wasn't that well versed quite yet, but
Mm.
I found this brand Elix,
Mm.
and I just started taking their blend, and I was like taking it really consistently, and eventually my period started to like come back and be
Whoa.
regular.
Wait, what was the blend? I'm so curious. Do you remember?
They, no, I don't remember. There's like a good amount. They'll like do you like fill out a quiz, and then based off of your results they like give you a blend, and I think
Oh,
they
wow.
they probably only have like 5 SKUs. Like I don't think it's like completely personalized.
Yeah.
Um but even less maybe, honestly. I don't know
No,
personally.
it's so cool. I mean, to me, it's like it was herbs or something, probably, right?
It was all Chinese herbs, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Chinese herbs are so incredibly powerful for
Yeah.
women's health. It
Yeah.
blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so fascinated by Chinese herbs, and
me too.
I really want to just, I'm like, I think that's my next thing is I just like
Mm,
study that because I do think it's the best medicine. I mean, I also believe in like certain supplementation as well,
yeah,
but I
I
just
agree.
like herbs are like they exist for a reason. Like they are like medicine that's from the earth, and I just think that's like if we can utilize that, like
Yeah,
that's ancient history that people they were using forever before us.
yeah,
So that was a big part of it, and then also just like I started eating way more. Like I like
yeah. Such like it's the biggest part of it. It's like literally
I
about
was eating
eating.
a lot, and like probably honestly like too much, but like
At first, you have to though.
yeah, like my body needed to feel safe again.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of eating and like letting go of the food noise,
Mhm.
which takes time, and
Mhm.
just not overworking my body, which
Yeah.
that that's like such a interesting journey because I think you're like, yeah, I'm not like I'm not doing HIIT classes every day anymore, so I'm not overworking my body. But like that version continues to evolve and change as you realize more and more like, oh wait, I'm still doing way too much and I'm not listening to my body at all.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think those were like probably the main things that like moved the needle. And
Mhm.
then once I actually started to study it, I've, you know, gotten more like specific of like little things. But
Yeah.
yeah.
When did your interest in yeah, this being your work? And I would actually like this is a great opportunity for you to like just like share a little bit about like what it is you're doing right now and like
Yeah.
how that came about.
I'm like trying to remember the year I started. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I think it was it 2 years ago? Because I was like private chefing. I've just been on this journey of finding myself, knowing that I'm not meant to work in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And food's always been like a very obvious aspect of my life. And so
Mm.
that's kind of where I started. And then I think again it like circles back to just starting to have conversations more with more women and being like, oh wait, you're like going through something similar too. Like this is just like way more common than I realized and no one's talking about it.
Mm.
And so but then I remember starting to see it a little bit on social media and I remember there was like a moment where people were like hormones are going to be the next thing. Like
When
I
was
remember
that?
that so clearly.
I don't remember that. When was that?
I feel like it was in uh like 2023 maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like not that maybe even 2022. Like not
Yeah.
super long ago.
Yeah. That's so funny.
But I remember that and like there weren't that many people online talking about it though.
Yeah.
And then so then I started looking at different programs that I wanted to do.
Mm.
And then I committed to one in like November of whatever year that was. And that was like a full year of studying.
Mm.
And I was still like cooking though. And so I was very
Yeah.
much in these two worlds of like, okay, do I want to be a full-time coach? Um, can I trust that I can make enough money doing that? There was all of that. And then it didn't, I didn't fully commit to only coaching woman. Also, like I was coaching men. Like I was just like doing all of it and
Yeah.
then only started coaching women only honestly in the last year.
Mm.
Um, and I think so much of it, it's just so interesting because I'm sure you notice this too. It's like you heal something or you like tune into something about yourself and then like your client brings it to you. Sometimes I'm like, I just worked on this yesterday and now you're asking
Yeah.
me about it. Like
It's crazy.
it is crazy, but it's like cool and it's just fun to see how and why I'm going through all this stuff because I'm supporting someone else through it.
Yeah.
And um so yeah, just to answer your question more of like exactly what I do, my work is like I do functional hormone testing, the Dutch test specifically. And then
Love the
I
Dutch test.
love it. And I'm like, again, why don't people know about this?
Yeah.
And why isn't it covered by insurance?
I know. It's so true. Yeah.
Makes me so mad.
I
But
know.
I have a goal. I'm like, maybe I can change this one day.
I love that goal.
Um, and then I do GI map
Yeah.
testing because I'm like from my personal experience, but like my gut was really dictating a lot with my
It
hormones.
often does.
Yeah.
Those two tests are the tests I order the most with women in my practice.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean it makes sense. It's just like
Yeah.
they're hand in hand with each other.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and then I think all of that's really important, but I've really started to lean in my favorite part of it is honestly like it's not therapy and I would never call myself a therapist, unless I get become a therapist,
Mhm.
but I get the question a lot of like, why don't you just become a therapist? Because
Mm.
I really love to like dive into stuff with my clients and like get to like the root. Like I call myself like a root cause functional hormone specialist because
Mm.
I believe that at the core, like we have to pull back the onion layers, the like the nutrition and the movement and like the stress, your work, like that stuff's on the surface, and we can like kind of address that fairly, you know, I don't want to say totally quickly, it depends on person to person, but that's kind of like the easier stuff to look at. And the
Mhm.
harder stuff is like, oh, I've hated myself my whole life, or
Mm.
like I have all this sexual shame, or like I hate my body, like whatever it is.
Mm.
And tuning into that, like I do a lot of inner child work,
Mm.
and that's probably my favorite part of what I do.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not like an easy, I'm like, if you're gonna work with me, it's like you're getting ready to work.
Yeah,
Um, but that's what feels more rewarding for me than just like giving someone a protocol and sending them on their way.
for sure. Yeah, I like to say that like the work is so relational. I couldn't
Hmm.
imagine like not going deep with the women I work with. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, the therapy thing is funny. I had one time a client send me an email and she's like, "You're kind of like the therapist." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah. No, literally. They're
But
like,
but what I think is like our cycle is so related to like how we show up in the world and the imprints that
totally.
we've picked up throughout our whole life. It's like I think it's kind of impossible to try to separate that. And
Mhm.
that's why women feel so dismissed and unheard in like an OBGYN's office is because it's trying to like compartmentalize something that's like your womb is all of you.
Right. Literally, it's what is driving our whole lives.
Yeah.
But people don't even understand that. I find it like I feel like you talk about womb stuff a lot, and I've noticed like with my audience, like I feel like I'm very much like the first person that's ever kind of brought any attention to the womb to them
Whoa.
before. Yeah, so like that's kind of like the people who are in my world, they're like, "Oh, wait, the womb's like actually important and I should be
Wow.
listening." Like I don't even know how to listen.
It's great that you're reaching those women.
Yeah, I
Like,
think it just takes more time for them to like get on board
yeah. But I
with.
think that that's like it's a really important audience to reach because like someone like like that little seed of you just sharing something about like connecting with your womb and someone's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah,
Like
it's
that opens up a whole thing.
totally. Yeah, that's
Wow.
a good reflection. Yeah, but I think that I was actually I work with a somatic coach, and that's been really an intense experience. And I'm like, this feels like my next version of the healing that like I know every woman needs,
Mm.
probably, or at least the
Mm.
woman who I work with.
Yeah.
Um, but she's like, what's your mission? Like, why are you here on this earth? And I was like, I'm like trying to change the world. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because if women were healed, then like we would all be like ruling the world and it would be a much happier, better place. Like the frequency, I think, of this earth would just go up.
Mm.
But we've been so disempowered as women, and I think that's by design.
Yeah.
And it's just like if we heal our bodies and we're listening to our wombs, like literally what could happen if every woman was doing that?
I think about that a lot and like how powerful could we be if like all women were connecting with their cycle and like harnessing that ovulation energy and like letting themselves rest when they bleed and receive wisdom
Right.
and like especially but you can't and the thing is like you can't do any of that if you're in period pain. You can't
Right.
do any of that if your PMS takes you out and like you can't function in society. You can't do any of that if you're missing your period. So like you have to start by dealing with the tangible.
Yeah. Right.
And so
And that,
yeah, the work that you're doing is so important because it's like yeah, women, and I think it's also an in, like it's an in to not that I feel like I trick people or that you trick people, but I'm like, hey, let's like look at your hormones, like let's get
Yeah.
you on some Chinese herbs, like
Right.
let's get you pregnant, let's heal your painful periods, and then like they get into
Mhm.
a session and it's like, ooh, let's like talk about your connection to your body and your
Right.
womb and your
Yeah.
sexuality.
It becomes so much deeper. I feel
Yeah.
like every time they're like, well, wasn't expecting any of that, but here we are.
My God.
Uh,
Are there like certain things that you find that like you often get in your practice, like certain types of cases or like what women are like coming to you for? Is there a pattern in that?
yeah, I think that, and I feel like this is always the case, like you attract what you went through,
Hmm.
a lot. And that's happening more and more. I would say I definitely seem to attract like girls who are in their 20s a lot.
Mm,
Um, and they all struggle with like body image,
mm,
like body dysmorphia, eating, overworking. I
mm,
think in like one or a few words, I've like identified I like attract really high functioning women.
mm,
And so they all are like have either are really burnt out in that moment or have burnt
mm.
out many times. And that was just like that was the case for me for so long. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why the nervous system stuff is like
Mm,
I actually think it's honestly the most important starting point sometimes. Because if your body doesn't feel safe, like none of the other stuff's gonna work.
100%. A
Yeah.
100%. Wow. I feel like sometimes you're saying the words that like are in my brain. Wild, super cool.
I know, I was looking at your Instagram and I was like, oh, we're like very similar.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's interesting about like, yeah, attracting the women that kind of are similar to what you went through.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen for me as much anymore. Like I
Yeah.
think I attracted a variety now, but what I do notice is like where their like ideal for their life is very similar to the ideal that I hold for my life. Um,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like there was someone I had a discovery call with someone who's going to start working with me a week or two ago, and she was like, "Oh, what really drew me to you is that like you have a very full life and your life isn't like on pause for healing. And like I'm a very busy woman. I have a lot of aspirations. I like can't always take weeks off to do a protocol and rest. And like I like that you know, are really big on like having fun and like still being able to heal." And I was like, "Oh
Mm,
yeah, that's cool."
that's such a good reflection.
Yeah, I loved hearing that. I was like, oh
Yeah.
wow, okay, I'll talk more about my salsa dancing on Instagram.
I was like, well, you just gave me a lot of ideas. Burning Man.
Burning Man. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm
But it's true.
curious too, like with your clients that are like high functioning women who are prone to burnout, like you said nervous system comes first. Is there like a usual, of course, every woman is unique, but like, is there kind of like a baseline methodology you have with that type of client?
Yeah, I call them energy leaks or like stressors, but I'm like, we need to identify all the stressors or energy leaks that are in your life. And that can include like your reoccurring thoughts that you're probably not even aware of right now, but
Mhm.
we're going to start to become aware of those. And like the first step is they just become the observer of their life.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see how like even with even a week, but like after a couple weeks, they're like, oh my God, like this, and this, and now I'm changing this because of that. And it happens really quick. Like I think when you become aware of yourself, it's just like the greatest gift you can have because if you're not aware, then you can't change anything.
Mm,
So that's usually the first step. And then depending on like where they're already at within their journey of like mindfulness, and integrating nervous system support, that will like vary, but it's always and even like what their stressors are. Like if they already eat really well, then that's not necessarily stressor, but a lot of the time there's like some version of stress with food, whether it is like eating a food that their body's like bloating after every time, or it's
mm,
like overthinking or calorie counting or whatever.
Um,
So it's unique in that way, depending on each client, but that's usually the starting point. And once that is starting to alleviate or be supported, or I mean, I think it's also in conjunction, like I'm like, we're gonna meditate together. And it's like getting them into that routine,
wow.
which hopefully then becomes their norm on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm just like kind of reflecting on that, like identifying the energy leaks. It's a
Hmm.
really cool methodology.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of my like spiritual coaches said that to me once, and I was like, oh. And I realized there were a lot. And then now that I think, then I now that that idea's in my head, more and more just show up and they like you can really call them out over time. But we are just like so numb to so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I guess, yeah, like to that that also just reminds me a lot of like the woman burnout, but they're like so fatigued. They're like just
Yeah.
exhausted. So it's literally like, how can we just start to like plug those holes so you have more energy? And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the women I work with are people pleasers, and
Yeah.
that's just so exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that because it's like unless you plug up those energy leaks, like anything that you try to get them to implement isn't gonna really stick.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like some things will can start to, but it's just like if we want to get your energy here and you feeling your best and your energy is up here so that your hormones can start to work properly and your gut and all the things, like, because I'm like, that's the disconnect. I'm like, you don't have enough energy for your body to function in the way that it wants to.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it reminds me of like in TCM, like the spleen chi is kind of that. It's like the
mm,
spleen chi is like, when it's deficient, there's like a gut issue. But a lot
mhm,
of women who are spleen chi deficient, like they're also really tired because it's like that's what gives you this like energy, It's similar
right,
to dysregulated blood sugar where you're just tired.
right.
You need to boost the spleen chi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole Chinese medicine stuff, I'm not super well versed in, but I think it's so interesting.
Oh, it's endlessly fascinating.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and if you need a training for that, I've got one for you.
Okay, I actually would love for you to send that to me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for anyone who's listening to my mentor, Kristen Hauser, she does this practitioner training. It's like she's shifting it into be like a yearly, it's like a
Cool.
membership type, mentorship type
Oh, cool.
model, but it's really cool. She goes deep into like TCM in relation to women's health and then all the herbs and all of that. So
Mhm.
I'll get you
Oh,
the info and
perfect.
yeah, I think it's starting in September, so that's coming up soon, the next cohort, but I think there is
Okay.
ongoing enrollment. And
Okay.
yeah, I'll put it in the show notes because I think a lot of women who listen to this podcast are also interested in getting into this work too, but
Sure.
it's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, yeah, and I think, integrating this type of nervous system work with sort of the functional testing is really good because it gives you a bit of a data point on like, okay, like, is this working? Where are
Right.
you really at? And so yeah, I'm curious if you notice any certain like Dutch test or GI map patterns across for this like
Yeah.
yeah, under eating, and I would love to hear what you notice with that.
Yeah. I think actually I was like, oh my God, the first Dutch test I've ever seen where they're not burnt out. But they are still in that like fight or flight energy, like where the cortisol is really high as opposed to like metabolized cortisol's totally down.
Uh,
Um, but that's definitely been the biggest theme in terms of that pattern of
yeah.
their HPA access is just like
Hmm.
really depleted.
Yeah.
And then for the gut, I think the biggest thing I see on the GI map is the depletion of like the good bacteria.
Yeah.
And then that like leaves the room for then the opportunistic bacteria.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no wonder why you also have low energy because your body can't even absorb what you're eating.
I know that's the biggest thing, right? And that's what I'm saying with the spleen chi too, is like you could be doing all the nourishing blood building things, But if you can't assimilate it, you're going to be exhausted.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's why like all of these pieces come together and like you can't look at just one element of it.
Mhm.
And I think that's like what makes our work so holistic because it's like you're just putting all the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. So cool. I love like being able to converse with you about this, to just be able to like meet someone else who is doing this work because there's just like endless amounts of women who really need it. I
Mm.
think probably most of the women in the world.
I think so too. To some
Uh,
degree, you
yeah,
know?
to some degree. I mean, I need it
Yeah,
some, like we all need it.
totally. I don't think the work ever stops.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like the more we can like I keep reminding myself of this of like share how like imperfect I still am, even though I do all these things and know all these things. Like,
Yeah.
the journey will continue to evolve also as our hormonal body continues to evolve.
Same. I mean, I just released a podcast episode. When this one comes out, it'll probably be like a month ago,
Okay.
but now, right
Yeah.
now it was like 2 weeks ago. About how like I have Hashimoto's. Like that's been like my big thing that I've like been working through in my life. And for the
Yeah.
most part, like I have it pretty like under control. Like I don't
Yeah.
really get thyroid symptoms.
Hmm.
I used to deal with the like crazy lethargy and brain fog and like
Yeah.
inflammation, just like so much of that. But
Yeah.
every year, what I've realized is every year, like end of July into August, I get like a little bit of a flare up. And
Interesting.
yeah, I've been like this was the first year that I tracked that this is a pattern. It's been happening
Yeah.
for like 4 years in a row now. And I'm
Whoa.
like, oh, I know. I think it's because what happens in the summer is that like the days are longer. I'm doing more. I'm not resting as much. Even when I'm
Mm-hmm.
bleeding, it's hard to want to like eat stew and sit inside.
Mm-hmm.
I like don't sleep as much because I'm just like busier and
Right.
whatever. And like for thyroid stuff and like just hormone stuff in general, like sleep and nourishment are like the biggest things. For thyroid, especially, like nervous system sleep is huge and like circadian
Yeah.
rhythm. And my
Yeah.
circadian rhythm is like quite honestly kind of fucked right now.
Right. I'm
Uh,
sure. Whose isn't?
right, yeah. And so I'm like, oh wow, like there's little things, like little brain fog things. Like I'll be talking about something and then be like, wait, what was I gonna say? And I
Mm,
started tracking that, and then just like a little bit of gut stuff where I'm like, oh, I'm bloated. I'm not normally bloated.
yeah.
And then like my luteal phase was like a day shorter. And I'm like, okay,
Mm,
this is so interesting. Like these are minor things. And
yeah.
in the past, I would have freaked out. I would have been like, oh my God, what's going on with me, my health? And now,
Mm,
because I know that this is a journey, it's not a destination, that
yeah.
like and in TCM, we really work with like constitutional types. And so it's
Mhm.
like I know my constitutional type is like autoimmune. Like I have a tendency towards
Wow.
autoimmunity, or we would call it like a yang, kidney yang deficiency in TCM. I know
Okay.
that's my pattern.
Yeah.
And I don't ever expect that to not be my pattern, but I know how to bring that pattern into balance when it's out of balance. And I think if
Right.
we can shift to that around like bringing
Yes.
into balance instead of fixing what we perceive to be broken, it's like, wow, what a different place to approach our health from.
Wow. I love that perspective on it so much because that is the point. Like, I'm like, sure, we can be together for 6 to 12 months and like you're gonna be hopefully feeling like very good by the end.
Yeah.
But there will be a version of a mini relapse. Like, you can't expect for it to just be like flowers and daisies forever because your external environment plays a huge role on your internal environment. And that's like very likely changing like a lot, probably, especially if you like to travel and whatnot. And
Yeah.
yeah, even to that point, like I'm like, whenever I've noticed this pattern, I traveled last year in Europe and this past year,
Mm.
and my cycle did change. And I'm like, maybe it's just because my body like was thrown off by the time change and stuff, but I noticed that and like my initial instinct was to be like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And I'm like panic, but then I'm like, okay,
Ugh.
we're gonna see how things are like when I get back, and then everything's like fine again.
Yeah. And I think like when you go into panic, like just activates the nervous system, which is obviously like so much worse than
Yeah.
anything else. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like, can we realize that our body's always doing things intelligently and like be like, okay, like, what are you speaking to me with these symptoms?
Totally. Exactly. And then just like having curiosity.
So cool. I also just, yeah, I love how your entire journey like has led you to like this place within yourself because like you were able to meet yourself and like you said like follow your womb's voice throughout these experiences to bring yourself back into balance. And it's like because of that you are able to like hold that container of safety for other women, which is just like so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a journey. I would be lying if I didn't say it hasn't been like hard, but I think that's what actually makes us like so much stronger and better guides because I have like so much empathy. Like
Mm.
I like just like cry for my clients, which I need to like figure out a boundary with that. But
Oh, I'm the same way.
just being sensitive, girls.
I know. Okay, I have a couple of like quick, I don't normally do this, but I feel like because we're so similar in things, I want to ask you a few like quick questions.
Okay.
And so the first one is like, are you still struggling with anything with your health? And like, what is that? And how do you navigate it?
Um, Honestly, at this very moment, things are like really good, but some things I actually have been noticing. One was like my gut has been a journey now for a bit, and my I was in Europe for 5 weeks and I had like amazing digestion and I was like not eating well by any means, like was eating gluten absolutely every single day and sugar probably every day. And my gut was so happy. And now I'm
Wow.
back and I'm still like going to the bathroom at least once a day, but it's like my bowel movements are not what I
Mm,
want them to be and what I
mm,
know means that they're like everything's happy.
yeah.
So I'm like circling back to that right now.
Mm,
I was also dealing with mid-cycle bleeding during
mm,
while I ovulated,
mm.
and this actually is the first cycle it didn't happen in like
Nice.
a year.
Wow.
So
That's epic. Nice
I
work.
know I was like, we did it.
Yeah.
We'll see what next cycle brings. But like I did make adjustments to my supplement routine.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know. I'm like, oh, is it because I was traveling and now I'm not traveling? And
Mm,
I think it's like actually because of the supplements that I just like started to take a little bit more of. I think the biggest thing actually, this is the biggest thing, is my periods are not very long.
yeah.
And that's sometimes hard for me to not like get stressed about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I guess how I've been handling it is through supplementation, and we'll see how this one is next week.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, and it just reminds me of what I was speaking to of like constitutional patterns. It's like, it seems like for you that more, I mean, it would be hard for me to say, but like maybe it's that like blood deficiency type pattern of just like deficiency, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And then like always working with that pattern and recognizing like, oh yeah, okay, like this is always what I'm gonna kind of what my body's gonna need. And like, can I keep giving that to my body?
Yeah, that's such a cool way to think about it. It's just kind of like knowing that's part of your archetype, I guess.
Yeah, it's arc. I love archetypes. And so for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, okay, kidney yang deficiency. Like that's my archetype in TCM. And like,
Yeah.
cool, I can work with that.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing that with like my human design,
Oh,
and
fun.
it's been actually just, I'm like, yep, okay, this is what it is. Like, even my astrology, I'm like, yep, this is who I am. And it just makes it easier for me to just navigate life.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know your moon sign in astrology?
Yeah, I'm a Cancer.
Cancer moon.
Yeah.
I've been learning a lot about the moon sign in relation to the nervous system, which is why I
Ooh.
asked that like your moon sign is your nervous system like baseline.
Interesting. So what did you
Yeah.
tell me?
Yeah, well, yours is Cancer, so yours is the opposite of mine. My moon sign's Capricorn. And
Mm,
so a Cancer moon, like the moon is at home in Cancer, you know?
yeah.
And so like your emotional world is probably very rich and like your nervous system thrives on like experiencing your emotions and then the shadow side of the Cancer moon is that like you can get like lost in that and struggle to come out of it.
Yep.
Whereas mine, the Capricorn moon is like the moon the moon is in detriment in Capricorn. That's what it says.
Oh my God.
And so it's like one of the hardest moon signs to have because what I read about, I'll send you this article and I'll link it in the show
Yeah.
notes too. It's all about your moon sign being your nervous system and it's like in depth for every single
Okay.
one. It's so cool. And
Love.
I use it with my clients now. I like get all their moon signs because
Ooh.
it will tell you like what you need. So like you're a water moon. So like water is really regulating for your nervous system. I'm an earth moon. So like when I'm dysregulated, I need to like sit on the ground and lean against a wall like
Mm,
things like that, like very somatic things.
mm.
But yeah, the Capricorn moon is a tough one because what the article said is like Capricorn says, I don't have time for emotions. And the moon says, I am emotions. It's like,
Perfect.
so yeah, the shadow side for mine is like overwork and hustle and like trying to brush past and then
Right.
eventually collapsing and into all of the emotions that have been suppressed.
Mm,
Which is like something I've had to work with for a long time. Is like that Capricorn. The Capricorn moon is great for me as a business owner and a
I
practitioner
bet.
because I have a lot of tenacity. I can just like keep going and like stick with things.
Yeah.
But the slowing down is harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the
We
taking
need
time
to.
to feel. Yeah.
I know. I think I feel too much.
We can balance each other.
No, literally, I'm like, can we help each other?
So interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, so I'll link that and I'll send it to you too, because I think for anyone it's really fascinating because it will tell you sort of like what you need in moments to regulate, what you need for long-term regulation, even like what colors are like
Mm,
supportive. Like for mine, it's like dark, earthy tones, like things like that. So
oh,
definitely super fascinating.
so fun. I love that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, next question is if you could recommend one supplement to every woman, like what would be, and this is, supplements are obviously so specific, and I'm very
Yeah.
specific with women in my practice, but I know I have at least one, maybe two that I'm like every woman could benefit from this.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if there's like one supplement that you would call like, yeah, your magic pill, what would it be?
Probably magnesium glycinate.
Same.
I was like, it's gonna be the same.
Magnesium glycinate. What is that?
It is the magic pill, and
It
there's
is.
like no danger.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like low risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be number
Sleep,
one.
sleep, mood, digestion, blood sugar.
Right. Like all of it. I think that's number one. Yeah. Supplements are an interesting world.
It is an interesting world.
Yeah. I wish it was regulated. Just
Hmm.
like make things less scary. Almost like not that I'm scared
Yeah.
to I do so much research. I
Yeah.
spend so much time reading about supplements and there's just so many out there and there's so many blends and it's just like is this
Yeah.
actually safe?
I know. I end up cutting a lot of supplements when I start working with people.
Oh,
Like, we're
same.
gonna slash that.
I was like, why are you taking all of these?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
your blood sugar is like low. You're taking berberine.
I know sometimes I'm like, what does that do for you?
That's same.
And like, if you don't know, let's not.
Right. Or I'm like, what, tell me why you went for that, And I
Yeah.
think a lot of the time people don't even know why.
Yeah,
That's what
they
I come
forget.
across a lot is like, they're just like, oh, I saw it on the internet, or like I saw an influencer post about
The
it.
influencer supplement things is really a problem.
Yeah, it is.
Because they're not, I mean, and I don't have a problem with influencers like a lot of people do. I think whatever, like people should do what they want.
Yeah.
But when it comes to health products, like, and I guess that's why you're saying you wish it was regulated because it's
Yeah.
like a lot of these people don't have the background to be pushing a supplement. It's like, I
No.
feel like that with the AG1, everyone's like on it with the AG1. I'm like, what? Like, why that?
Oh my God, that's so funny because I feel like there was like a time in my life where everyone was like, so what do you think about AG1? And I was like, I don't have a lot of thoughts. I'm like, I think it's just like, I'm sure there's benefits.
Yeah,
It's
I'm like,
not
I
going
don't
to
know.
change your life.
That's what I say. I'm like, I'm sure it's fine, but like I say the same thing about seed cycling. People are like, what do you think about
Yeah.
seed cycling? And I'm like, you
Mm.
can do it. I don't know. It's not like the most important thing.
I'm like, yeah, there's no scientific evidence to any of it, but like, I'm like, I just sprinkle it in when I can. And like,
Yeah.
seeds are good for you. Like, I think it's more
Yeah.
like that. Like, they're
Yeah,
good
like
for
kindness.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last little question. More on the like psychosomatic spiritual side of things.
Mm.
Is there any one sort of more womb healing type practice that you really like stick to in your life and think is most transformative for people? So that could be like, if I were to answer that, I'd probably say like my baseline that I always go back to is, well, probably two, like yoni steaming and like returning my blood to the earth every month. Like those are my two like cornerstone practices. Do you have something like that?
Mm. I have been a lot more intentional about giving my blood back
Yeah.
in some way. Ideally, I'm like out in the woods.
Mm,
Um,
love that.
that one has been feeling really good. I actually have never yoni steamed, and I know.
Oh, we need to talk about it.
Okay, I'm like so curious about it, but I think because I'm just like I don't know what the block is, but I like want to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think like something I've been really working on, and I think it's just like a really important practice for everyone is I sit with my womb. I try to sit every morning, and once I like feel like I'm in my body, I'm like, okay, like what do we need today? And just
Mm,
asking and
mm,
sometimes I don't get an answer, but
yeah.
just like getting in the practice of asking, I
Mm,
think is like all like it's how we're going to just keep on reclaiming that connection to ourselves.
mm. I love that. I love the simplicity of it too. Just like sitting with the womb every day as like that touch-in point to nurture the relationship. That's so beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, I think like if I have all the time to do all the things, I would love to, but I don't
Oh
right
yeah.
now, and
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm gonna do what I can, and I think that's just like a good like ethos for everyone in life, especially when they like start to go down this work. I think people get really overwhelmed with
Mhm.
all the things that you could be doing and or
True.
should be doing and it's just like tune into what feels like natural for you to do and go with
Mm,
that.
mm.
Yeah.
If there's a piece of womb wisdom that you could leave the women listening, what would that be?
Mm,
A little nugget.
I think right now it's just like give yourself like at least 5 minutes, but like more to just like be with your body and sit with anything and like take that time to let the body speak and like try to recognize if it's the mind because the mind is like usually just taking up so much more space than we realize.
Mhm. So true.
It's a practice I'm working on.
We could all use it.
Yeah.
Oh, this was so sweet, Sam. I'd love for you
Yeah.
to, yeah, let the women listening know where they can find you and how they might get in touch with you.
Yeah, so I have an Instagram that is at Samantha Aiello with just two O's at the end. I'm starting to vibe with TikTok more though.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, unfortunately they're not the same username, but it's Samantha Aiello underscore instead of like two O's.
Cool.
And I like am way more ranty on there, so if you want some of that, I would suggest going there.
Fun.
And then my website's samanthaiello.com. And I've been actually do this fun thing. Actually, your audience probably would like this.
Mm,
On Substack, every Monday I drop Moon Day drops, and it's just kind of like intuitive wisdom that's I'm channeling in the moment. Like I really
mm.
try to just like write on that Monday what's coming
Wow.
through. And it's like usually in theme with what feels alive, either for me, for my clients, or like what I'm just tuning into with the collective. And
Mm.
that's a fun one. So
Ooh, I love that.
just look me up on Substack. I
I'll
forget
link
that.
it. I'll link it.
Okay, okay. I'm like, I don't know what like my
Yeah.
Substack is.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll send I'll put all your links in the show notes. Yeah.
Okay,
Wow,
cool.
that sounds really cool. I used to do a newsletter called Moon Day, and now
Oh,
it's still called Moon Day, like in my like Kajabi platform where I write my emails,
yeah.
but I send it out on Tuesdays now, so it's not really Moon Day.
I will say Monday is a tough day
It's tough.
to be doing it. And I'm like, God, like I wish it could be a Tuesday.
Yeah, I love it though. The Moon Day drops is so good.
I
Yeah, I
know.
had to do Tuesdays because Monday was just so full. It was so hard to get my newsletter out on Mondays.
It's a challenge. So we'll
Yeah,
see how long I can keep going. But I've
but I
like
love that.
the one thing I've been really consistent with that like feels really good recently. So
Yeah, I'm excited to check that out too.
yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Oh, it was so sweet to have you here. And yeah, I just loved getting to nerd out a little bit with you and
Yeah.
also hear about your story, which every time I have a woman on this podcast and we get to the end, I'm like just left feeling like, oh my God, she's amazing. And I think
Oh,
it's just that, like, like our stories are all our personal, like,
totally.
mythos. And, like, you, yeah, I think it's cool to look back and see how every part of your journey led you to your mission today. And so I'm really grateful that you came on here and shared this.
Thank you. I'm so grateful I got to come on. And when Stacy told me that she was coming on with you, I was like, she literally was joking. She's like, "Do you want to take my place right now?" I was like, "I would." Like, I'm like, that is a podcast I want to be on. So thank you
Oh,
for having me. And it's just so
no.
nice to connect with women who like clearly are so aligned with like what your purpose is too. Our
Oh,
purpose. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm so grateful for it. Yay, thank
Cool. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for tuning in to the wisdom of the womb today. It's truly such an honor to bring these stories and teachings forward to you, and it would mean so much to me if you'd rate and review this podcast so that it can reach more women. If you're looking for deeper support, you can always find the link to join our online community, the Cyclical Living Circle with the Best Women in the World, in the show notes. And you'll also find the links to book one-on-one virtual sessions for your specific needs, as well as any workshops or courses I'm currently offering. Plus, you can follow me on Instagram, and I love to connect with you all there. All right, see you next week.